Well, good evening, everybody, and coming to you live from Mike's Bar and Grill in Berea. Welcome back to the Baldwin Wallace Athletics Roadshow on BWYellowJackets.com. I'm Brendan Gulick. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're glad to have you with us, and we've got a good show planned for you. We've got Stanley Blake will join us, who has just become the all-time greatest wrestler in the history of BW Athletics Wrestling, which is certainly saying something considering the success that they've had of late. So Stanley will join us here in just a few minutes. Also really looking forward to a conversation with Tony Dick, who is one of the professors in the sport management program. It is Super Bowl week, and the Yellow Jackets are awfully proud of the sport management program that they have here on campus, and as thankfully has been the case pretty often, the Yellow Jacket students get a chance as part of that program to go down and work the Super Bowl. Can't wait to hear about the experience that Professor Dick is going to have with those kids down out in Los Angeles coming up this weekend. And we are also going to talk with Dean Cullison, who's the offensive line coach for our football team, and get an update on all that's going on in the football world, since we've had a little while since we last talked with Coach Hilbert after that season ended. So wrestling, football, and the sport management program get the spotlight tonight on our Athletics Roadshow. But before we get kicked off, as we usually do, a look at what was in Yellow Jacket athletics. It started last Wednesday with a couple of basketball games against the Mount Union Purple Raiders. Baldwin Wallace, I thought it was a pretty impressive night for the ladies on the road. They played against a very good Mount Union team, and they beat Mount Union 66-51. The Yellow Jacket ladies won twice this weekend, or I should say this past week, and so we're looking forward to seeing where they are placed in the D3Hoops.com National Top 25 poll, which, as we go live here at 7:30 on Monday night, that poll should be coming out literally any minute. So hopefully we'll have some updates to give you on the ladies. But they continue to play well, and Lily Edwards was the OAC Player of the Week in women's basketball. On the men's side, Mount Union's got an awfully good team. In fact, in their last 66 games now since the start of the 2018-2019 season, Mount Union is 55-11, and they certainly looked like it when they came to Berea last Wednesday night. 94-71 the final over the Yellow Jackets in that game. Baldwin Wallace track and field competed out at Oberlin this past weekend, and I think both the men and women had some pretty good results. You can check out all of the results over on our website. The men's volleyball team also competed on Friday night, and they beat Geneva in 4 sets, 3-1. Saturday was a busy day and a good showing for our wrestling team. We'll tell you more about them in just a moment, but it was the 35th annual John Suma Invitational, where Baldwin Wallace took first place out of 6 teams, and we're going to get a good update from Stanley here in just a moment on that. Yellow Jacket volleyball on the men's side split their doubleheader on Saturday. They lost to Hiram in 4 sets, but turned around and swept Eastern Mennonite in 3 sets in a match that was played at Hiram. Yellow Jacket ladies hosted Otterbein and throttled the Cardinals 68-48 the final in that one, while the men lost a really tight contest on the road 74-71. So the latest look at the OAC standings in a couple of key sports here. We'll start with men's basketball, as we have just 4 games left in the regular season before it's OAC tournament week. Right now, Baldwin Wallace sits in 6th place in men's basketball in the conference. Marietta undefeated. They're in 1st place. Then you've got Mount Union and Heidelberg, who are both 11-2, followed by 8-5 Otterbein, 7-6 Capital, and then the Yellow Jackets sitting at 6-6. It certainly looks like BW is going to hold steady at a minimum at that 6-6 mark in 6th place in the league, because John Carroll's 2-9, Ohio Northern's 2-10, and then you've got Muskingum and Wilmington, who are both 2-12. So it's unlikely that the Yellow Jackets are going to get caught, even if they lose those next 4 games. Mathematically, it's still possible that they could get caught, but pretty unlikely on that front. On the ladies' side, again, as you would expect, things continue to look really good for a team that has, well, frankly, pretty high aspirations for the OAC and the NCAA tournament. John Carroll right now at 12-1, considering they beat the Yellow Jackets head-to-head by 3 a couple of weeks ago. Right now, with a virtual tie for first place, the Blue Streaks are technically in first, but the Yellow Jackets will play John Carroll here coming up, and they'll have a chance for some retribution there. John Carroll also having a really good season at 17-2. Marietta checks in at 10-4 in league play, adds 7 more wins for them outside of the conference. They're 17-4 and having a really good season in women's hoops. You've got Ohio Northern sitting at 8-4 in the conference. Otterbeins 8-5, followed by Muskingum, Mount Union, Wilmington, Heidelberg, and Capital to round things out on that side of things. And we'll give you a little update on the wrestling side, since we are going to chat with Stanley Blake here in just a moment. By the way, the Yellow Jackets have had a couple of guys earn OAC Wrestler of the Week this year, including Stanley this week. The Yellow Jackets at 6-0, undefeated. They are OAC champions in wrestling, with John Carroll at 5-1. Heidelberg a game further back, 4-2, followed by Ohio Northern, Mount Union, Muskingum, Otterbein, and Wilmington. But the Yellow Jackets with a perfect mark through the OAC, and they continue to have the premier wrestling program in the conference. All right, so that's your look backwards at Yellow Jacket Athletics. And at this time, we'll bring Stanley Blake on in. Stanley, come on and join us. Hey. How we doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great, man. It's good to see you, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
Obviously, this has been a pretty fun week for you personally, and certainly a great week for you guys as a team. Fourth time in your career that you've earned OAC Wrestler of the Week. Before we go too far, big picture, what's it mean for you to be competing and having so much success this year?
Yeah, I mean, I never expected to be back here for a 5th year, to be honest, but COVID, with everything happening with that, kind of brought me back another year. So, I'm just grateful to be here this year. Never thought I'd be back. Furthering my education, got 1 more year of wrestling, so it's really, really cool.
In addition to the fact that it was a good week for you, the fact that you've excelled at such a high level now throughout the course of your career, it's been impressive. But now it's at the top of the record books. You are the winningest wrestler in school history. I have to think that that's something you're proud of. But did you ever consider chasing that kind of a goal when you decided, hey, I want to go play at BW?
Yeah, not a chance. I mean, it was just one of those things where, at the beginning of the year, I was looking at that list and I was like, wow, I could actually get that this year. And then going into the weekend, I knew I was 4 wins away. But, yeah, I could have never foreseen myself getting 130 wins in my career. And, it's hard to believe I've won that many matches. But, I think it's a reflection of our great coaching staff, great teammates. And, yeah, I mean, it's a really cool accomplishment, but at the same time, it's one of those things, it's all on paper. So definitely don't want it to go to my head too much. If anything, I want someone to break that. That means we're excelling as a program, we're getting better, but still very cool.
Well, before we turn our attention to the program, 130-26, your career record, 35 major decisions, 10 pinfalls, and 4 tech falls. This season, 25-6, and obviously competing at a high level. What are you most proud of when you think about your career as a whole and what you've accomplished?
Oh, what am I most proud of? It's really hard to say. When I think about my career at BW, my mind immediately goes to the team. Senior day was a few days ago. They asked me what my favorite memory was. My favorite memory was a revenge win over Mountain Union at the national duels in 2019. So it's hard to say what I'm most proud of, but again, I think of the team my freshman year, qualifying 9 wrestlers to the national tournament in Cleveland, Ohio. Like, that was awesome. Super proud of everyone. Last year during our COVID year, the way our team handled all that adversity and took care of what we could take care of with the limited schedule and everything, and the way we bounced back with, disappointing news. I mean, those are really the things that I'm most proud of. It's nothing individual. It's just, being a part of the team, things like that I'm proud of.
Well, you're a Northeast Ohio guy, right?
Yes.
I mean, so Baldwin Wallace is always, I guess it's kind of been in your backyard. You grow up on the west side of Cleveland. You go to Elyria Catholic. What prompted you to want to give BW a chance, when you were kind of weighing your college decisions?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I grew up in North Ridgeville, Ohio. I never really even knew that Baldwin Wallace was right here. But, Coach Gibbs reached out to me. I got to meet the coaches, loved them. But what really sold it for me was I got an opportunity to hang out with the guys on the team. And once I hung out with them, I was like, this is definitely where I want to be. They took wrestling serious. fun, nice guys that I wanted to surround myself with. And, I could tell that they had a good culture, and it would be a good place for me to succeed in school and on the wrestling mat. So, it's just really being around the guys that got me here.
Tell us about Coach Gibbs and Coach Zastro and just sort of the culture and the energy they've created around this program.
Yeah, I'll start with Coach Gibbs. I love that man. Great coach, great mentor to me. Never lets you settle, ever. He's always pushing you to do the next right thing. He's pushing you when you don't think you can go any farther. There's been many times this year where, I didn't think I'd be able to do something, but if it weren't for Coach Gibbs pushing me in the back, convincing me to do it, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So, he just holds me and everyone else on the team to a really, really high standard, high level, and, we're all really grateful for that. We wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for Coach Gibbs, and he every single day he's actively working to improve our culture. Once you take that culture for granted, that's when it goes away. So, he holds us to that high level, and I'm appreciative for that. And then Coach Z, pretty much the same thing as Coach Gibbs, has one of the highest wrestling IQs I've ever seen. He blows my mind sometimes. He gives you a scouting report for a match, and he's like, hey, this guy's going to do this, and you'll be in the match. And he just did it, and you'll be ready for it. So it's actually really cool. Applying Coach Z's wrestling IQ to a match.
We had a chance a couple weeks ago to visit with Jacob Decatur, and I realized he had kind of a crazy journey to Baldwin Wallace, right? A lot of guys come right out of high school. Jacob obviously went the unusual route of going to a really high-level program at Ohio State and deciding it was just a better fit for him to be here in Berea. From your perspective and watching the success that he's had this year, knowing what you guys are succeeding as a team, but specific to Jacob, what kind of impression has he left on you and has he left on the guys around you?
Yeah, he's been a great addition to this team, first and foremost. Not only is he an outstanding wrestler, but, you mentioned he comes from a great program, Ohio State. You've never known that about him. He's very humble, doesn't gloat about anything, doesn't act like he's better than anyone else because he came from a D1 program. I'm just really impressed with the way he carries himself, and, he's a guy, first year here on the team, he's stepped up as a leader. A lot of guys look up to him, and, we're just grateful to have him. Like I said, it really impresses me the way, from where he came, you would never know. He's just so cool about it. He puts his head down, he gets his work done, he pushes others to do it. So I'm really grateful to have him on this team. And, being a guy on the team that's been successful, I love having him here too, being successful. It takes some eyes off of me and puts it on him, so I kind of like that.
I want to ask you the same kind of question about Michael Patrella. He's obviously having a great year. He's ranked number 4 nationally in his weight class.
I love it.
And kicked some serious butt this weekend.
Yeah, I love it. I was talking to my roommate the other day about Patrella and Tanner McHugh, also a fifth-year senior, and we were talking about how, man, just this summer in the practice room, we were beating him up, and when we would get on the mat, roll around the summer, we were beating him up. In the earlier in the season, we were beating him up, and now, practice room, he's beating us up some days. So that's another guy that he's had his breakout year. It's awesome to see. I love it. I love seeing guys on the team wrestle at such a high level, and I just think it's really cool to think that in the beginning of the year I was beating him, and now I want to grab him as a practice partner because I know he's going to make me better.
That's really, really cool. There's not a lot of people in any sport that achieve All-American status. I don't care if you're playing Division I, 2, or 3. If you're NAIA, NCAA, it doesn't matter. Being an All-American is a huge deal. And I want to know what that moment felt like for you when you first accomplished it, when you knew it was locked in at the national meet. You were an All-American. How did that feel?
Yeah, little bit of a touchy subject for me because I'm an All-American, but I really didn't feel like I earned my All-American status because of the COVID year. Since we didn't get to wrestle that tournament, I think they allocated All-American status based on seeding. So, it still feels good, but it's still something that I want to personally earn myself through my wrestling, not through seeds. So it's one of my big goals for this year. It's still really cool to be an All-American, but I wanted to be able to say I earned it myself,
Absolutely. I can imagine that's a fun driving force for you for the rest of the season.
For sure.
You guys obviously have only a couple of a couple of opportunities left to compete before you get to regionals and then the national championships. Coming up with Heidelberg on the road on Tuesday. You'll be at West Liberty in West Virginia on Friday as a team competing at the John Carroll Open on Sunday the 13th. And then Adrian up in Michigan hosting the Central Regional Championships, and the NCAA Championships this year are being held in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. With such little time left in your career, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, the national championships are March 11th and 12th. Today is February 7th. Hate to be the guy to tell you this, but the clock's running, right? I mean, the end is very much in sight.
Yeah.
Other than the whole, hey, I want to go earn my All-American status, and I'm sure you're aiming to win a national championship at your weight class.
Absolutely.
What do you want this last month to feel like, to not just results-based accomplishments, but what do you hope you feel when you look back on the end of your career?
I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I've just absolutely loved my 5 years here at Baldwin Wallace, especially being a member of the wrestling team. And pretty much my whole motto for this whole year has just been to be grateful for everything. Like, in the summer, getting a good workout in with my teammates, going out, getting some food afterwards, hanging out. Not going to be able to do that after this year. Extremely grateful for those things. Getting in a great workout practice during the year, going to breakfast with the team afterwards. Not going to be able to do that. We were warming up for a Wilmington duel a few weeks ago, and, man, we just started warming up. We got the music going in the room, and I felt that energy, that excitement, and I just was on the bike pedaling. I'm like, wow, I'm grateful for this right now. So, going into this last month, I really just want to pay attention to all those things that I know I'm going to miss next year, that I'm not going to be able to experience again once I'm not on this team anymore, and really take the moment to be grateful for it. It's played a huge part in my life these past 5 years. Loved my time here at BW. Had a huge impact on my life, and I just want to be grateful for those moments.
I have no say in the matter, by the way, and I have no idea how many wrestlers are in the Yellow Jacket Athletic Hall of Fame, but I have to think that there's probably going to come a day, considering what you've accomplished, that we'll have you back on campus in 10 years or hopefully not long after that to recognize what you've accomplished. Have you thought about the bigger picture of just, what it's meant for you to be a Yellow Jacket and considering the long storied history of athletics here at this university?
Yeah, I can't say I've thought about Hall of Fame status or anything like that, but with last week being senior week, Coach Gibbs talked a lot about legacy, and I think I speak on behalf of a lot of the seniors on the team. One of our biggest hopes is that we leave a lasting stamp on this program. We want to leave a good legacy. The individual that was on the list, who's now number 2, Garrett Chase, I was never teammates with him, but when I came in as a freshman, I heard stories about him. I heard about his work ethic, the type of leader he was, how good of a person he was. And when you come in as a new guy, you hear those stories, and they almost become like BW wrestling folklore,
sure,
if you will. And, I think about Garrett Chase, never being a teammate with him and hearing all these stories and looking up to him. Like, that guy left a legacy on the program. And then this weekend at the SUMA, seeing guys like Dante Giannetti, who's now a coach for us, Nick Zabracco, Tyler McClellan, David Shapiro used to be a coach with us, seeing all those guys at the SUMA and how they helped me in my career, those guys left legacies on the program. So I want to leave a legacy on this program. I want to be talked about in a positive way after I leave, and hopefully be able to help the next generation of wrestlers that come through BW.
Well, Stanley, we're awfully proud of what you've accomplished, but even more proud of the way that you represent BW. Thanks for what you do for us.
Thank you.
And enjoy the heck out of these next few weeks, man. I hope it's a great, fun ride for you, and good luck earning it on the mat.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You bet. Stanley Blake, a terrific wrestler here for us at Baldwin Wallace. All right. Next up, we've got, let's see, is he within earshot? We'll do Tony Dick coming in next. Come on up, Tony Dick. He's making his way down the red carpet, I'm sure. We've got a fun conversation planned with one of our associate professors in the sport management program with the Super Bowl coming up this week. And Tony Dick is looking forward to a fun conversation, so he'll be hopping on camera here shortly. I think he was finishing up dinner at the same time, which is perfectly fine. We had dinner right before we got started. That's all right. That's all good. Mike's Bar and Grill, the site for our Baldwin Wallace Athletics Roadshow, and Tony Dick is our guest. How are you?
Not too bad. How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's good to see you.
Life is good. Life is good.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I didn't expect to see you this week. I kind of figured you were taking an RV out to the West Coast, and you're going to a slightly longer trip than maybe we all needed.
It's funny. Every time we go on one of these trips, and Dr. Campisi's with me, and there's some distance, apparently we jump on a plane. But when Rob and I were down there in New Orleans a couple years ago, for whatever reason, we took vans down. This year we'll be flying, which is awesome because it would have been a heck of a drive all the way out to Los Angeles in a 15-passenger van. But, so 4:30 a.m. We will be meeting, rallying the troops, if you will, jump on a plane, and we're off to L.A. for a week. So
for those who don't know, we try to pump this kind of stuff up here pretty regularly. I just think this is the coolest program that BW has to offer. We're talking about, a small Division III school in Northeast Ohio that regularly works the biggest events in American sports, the Super Bowl, the college football playoff, Grand Prix races, the Indy 500. Big major events that people can't wait to watch on TV. And our kids get the opportunity to go there and figure out how to network and how to be boots on the ground.
It's amazing. And for me, I graduated from BW, back in 95, and I graduated from our sport management program, and it was an excellent program at the time. It was a quality program. But when I came back in 2016 and Dr. Campisi, asked me to join the program, and I took a look at just what we were doing, I'm still to this day completely blown away. In many regards, I'm jealous of the fact that I wish I had these opportunities when I was here at BW, but it is truly an amazing opportunity when you think about it. And as I said, we're heading back to L.A. I think it's the third time we've been out to L.A. since I got here in 2016. We were there for Super Bowl 50. And then, Becker and I, Rob Becker, we took a bunch of students out there 3 years ago for the CFP. And it's just every time we go out there, I'm just completely blown away by the opportunities. And for me, the last time we were out in L.A., I told the students, because for that trip, the college football playoffs, game was actually held in San Francisco. We landed in Los Angeles. We spent 4 days seeing everything. Dodger Stadium, we saw a game at the Staples Center, checked out everything. And then we drove up the coast to San Francisco. And I told the kids that were in the van, I said, listen, keep looking out your window to the left and to the right, because every time we go about 5 miles, we're passing another university. There's all these schools that are out there, but who is working the game? It's Baldwin Wallace University. And for a lot of our students, I don't think it really hit home until I put it to them that way. But, when we left there, they thanked us. They thanked us for the opportunity. They're like, man, it's just crazy. There was all these schools that are here. Even last time we were at the CFP in New Orleans, the media day was at Xavier University, in New Orleans. They have a sport management program. But who was handling the moving of the athletes for media day? It was the students from Baldwin Wallace University who drove in a van, 16 hours to get down there. And so that's the thing. I think we have a tremendous program, and I know I sound like a homer when I say that, but I will put our program up against any program in the country in regard to our ability to get our students experiential learning opportunities. Nobody's doing it better than us. And I'm not saying that because I work here. I'm saying it because nobody can prove me wrong,
I guess the part that I'd love to hear you elaborate a little bit more on is the post-grad part of this, right? You've got a great program that offers great opportunities to kids that are here. For high school students or their families that might come across our conversation. How has that translated into those first, second, third jobs when they get out at BW?
It's, the big thing I tell all of our students when they're coming in and we're recruiting is, we can mention the Super Bowl, we can mention the CFP, and obviously those are things where people's ears perk up, okay? Sure. And we can get those things on your resume during your 4 years here. Now, the opportunities beyond graduation, that's going to depend on the individual. It's going to depend on how driven you are, how much you want to get out there and work in the workplace. And quite frankly, when we talk about, the big question parents will ask are, what are the opportunities for my child? I said, well, I got to meet your child first, because a lot of it really depends on the student, because we've got kids who graduated, I've been with the program since 2016. We've had students who have graduated since 2016 that, we had one, Juliana Rubin. I mean, it's one of our star students. Yep. She's in charge of contracts now for the Colorado Rockies. I mean, it's a pretty big position to have.
And she got that role after working for one of the better agencies.
Oh, yeah, she worked for Lee Steinberg, and a lot of that had to do with her. I mean, the program is great, but when you plug a great student into a great program, then you get great results. And Juliana, I can't speak any. I mean, I don't know.
A few years ago, she and I were broadcasting soccer games together.
Oh,
now she's handling contracts for the Rockies.
Yeah, an amazing kid, and so that for us, we'll provide the opportunities. It's up to the students to get to where they want to be. And for me, I think the biggest thing is we looked at the NFC Championship game. We had former graduates with both the Rams, both the 49ers. I've watched games on Sundays where, Dallas Cowboys, we'll have one of our former guys, actually walking the coach off the field. And it's so funny because you just saw that student in the classroom 3 years prior. And it really is up to them. The beautiful thing about these experiential learning opportunities is when you put it on your resume, we always tell our students, that'll get you the interview,
right, but
it's up to you as the individual to get the job. So I don't want to take too much credit for the success of our students because it really is up to them. But I think I think it's okay for us to take credit for the fact that we're putting them in a good place to get those opportunities.
I think that's where the conversation has to start, because I don't care what you're pursuing in your life. If you don't have that internal motor to do stuff on your own accord, you're not going to succeed. I don't care what it is.
Well, especially this more than anybody. I mean, and I'm not saying this just because we're sitting a foot or two away from each other. I mean, you are where you are now because of drive. I mean, it's the desire to excel at your craft and your ability and willingness to put in the hours that are involved. Because the one thing I will never tell my students, I never sugarcoat anything. And if you're going to work in collegiate or pro sports, you have to put the time in because it requires a ton of time.
No substitute for it.
No, I mean, for me, I tell my students all the time, I worked in the NFL for 21 years. I mean, I was averaging, and this is no exaggeration, when I tell people, they're like, come on. The first 3 years I was in the NFL, we were talking 80 to 100 hours a week
easily
working. And I that's why I laugh when I get to higher ed. I'm not cracking on higher ed here, but you'll get people like, whoa, I'm at 30, 40 hours a week, and I'm like, 30 hours is what I used to call Tuesday when I was in the NFL. So it's one of those things. But that, like I said, for us, it's all about providing the opportunities, and you've listed CFP, Super Bowl. Those are the big ones. We have ventured into Formula One, Kentucky Derby, but the thing I tell all of our incoming students is you tell me what you're interested in, and then we'll pursue that too. I don't care if it's NASCAR, lacrosse, you name it. Whatever it is, we'll pursue that because I'm not anti-textbook. But I am very pro hands-on learning.
I think there's a ton of value in all of that. I think one of the questions that maybe parents or potential students would want to know is how the university has become hopefully increasingly more dedicated to supporting these ventures, because the reality is it's not cheap to send students from Cleveland to Los Angeles, for example.
It's not, but this goes back to, like I said, I don't want to take credit for any of this stuff because Charlie, Dr. Campisi, and this was something that was already in play before I got here. And, really the system that we have set up, we allow the students opportunities to fundraise throughout the year. We will supplement students who are financially in kind of dire need. We'll find ways for them to get to where they need to be. And quite frankly, we run these trips for relatively cheap. I don't want to tip our hand completely, but for most of our students, they'll probably end up making back more than half of what they pay for the trip to the Super Bowl just in the paid opportunities, because we do have a lot of paid opportunities that they'll be working.
Sure.
So when we're out in California, they're going to work, and then probably 3 weeks after we get back from California, they're going to receive a paycheck from the folks that we're working for, which is going to cover more than half of their trip. So for a student to be able to go out for, less than $500 and spend a week in Los Angeles for less than $500, go to a Lakers game, tour, the Rose Bowl, tour Dodger Stadium, go to, all the NFL experience, all those things, and then experience the Super Bowl. I mean, and then to come back and say, I did this for less than $500. I mean, come on. I mean, just the flight alone is $500,
At least.
Yeah.
You can't see it because it's just off camera, but on one of the televisions here at Mike's Bar and Grill, Virginia is playing Duke right now, and I know you guys have been to Cameron Indoor. You want to talk about one of more of the authentic, genuine venues anywhere in the country, regardless if it's professional or college athletics.
I have to. I can't even look at the TV anymore and look at Cameron anymore and not laugh, because we were afforded a tremendous opportunity through a relationship that we had with one of the students in our program. Her father was, worked for the Duke Athletics, still works for the Duke Athletic program. And I remember the first year he invited us out, and he said, yeah, bring your students out. We'll put you in the student section for a Duke game. And so we get there, and I'm thinking, once again, these were not opportunities that were afforded me. So as a 40, at the time, probably 46, 44-year-old man, somewhere around there, I'm thinking, hey, we're going to be in the student section at Cameron. So I'm putting, game day, I got my blue wig on, I got my Duke shirt on, I'm painting my fit. And our students are looking at me like, what is going on with Professor Dick? This guy's out of control. And I turned to the kids and I told them, I was like, listen, man, when's the next time we're going to be here? Tomorrow's never, that's always my big thing with our kids. Right. Tomorrow's never guaranteed. But we're here right now, and so the wig's going on, the face paint's going on, and I'm all in, man. I'm hopping up and down. Whatever they chant, I'm chanting. We're all in. And for our students, for them to be able to experience that firsthand was just huge for them. Because once again, we can read a textbook, we can talk about being a fan, we can talk about fanaticism, we can talk creating these cultures in college athletics. But until you've actually hopped up and down for 2 straight hours at a Duke basketball game in the student section, you're just reading about it. It ain't the same as being there. So
I think there's a lot of allure to some of these bigger national events, but the reality is there is a huge contingent of Baldwin Wallace students that are Northeast Ohio, residents, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about the relationships that you have with the local teams, Browns, Indians, or Browns, Guardians, Cavaliers, things like that?
Well, as I stated, for me personally, I spent 21 years with the Browns before coming back to BW. And so our relationship is very solid with the Browns. I mean, our proximity to the Browns training facility, that alone lends to us. We're there, and we're readily available. I mean, they can pick up the phone at any moment, and we can have 20, 30, 40 students, however many they need, there. And not only just, we're not just supplying, this is the beauty. We're not just supplying bodies. We're supplying kids who have had Super Bowl, CFP experience. They've worked major events. So when our students show up, they're not starstruck. They're not in awe of the surroundings. They're simply there saying, hey, what do we got? What do you want us to do? What do you want us to knock out? And for, Browns, Indians, Guardians, Cavs.
I did it too.
Yeah, I know. I'm 50 years old. I forget my own kid's name, so for me to forget the baseball team, we're okay. For us to be able to provide that service is huge. And I always tell our incoming students, that's one of the things that's a strength of Baldwin Wallace is our location. I mean, we're in close proximity. Name any other school, in the area that's less than a quarter of a mile away from an NFL team. Right. I mean, come on. And then name a school that's less than a quarter mile away from an NFL team that can provide students in mass that have the experience that we have. And like I said, it's not being braggadocious. It's facts. It's factual.
It's kind of what you guys have built.
And we've, when I got here in 2016, it was a magical year, right? I had seniors who were graduating out that spring. Think about this. It's students graduating out in that spring of 2016 that had 4 Super Bowls under their belt, a college football playoff, a World Series, 2 Cavs final. I mean, where are you getting that? And a lot of it just happens to be kind of dumb luck. I mean, the fact that we're getting the All-Star game, we had Major League Baseball All-Star game a couple years ago.
Sure.
NBA. But what is not dumb luck is the fact that folks are reaching out to us asking for our students to work that event because they know the quality of student that we bring to the table. So that's a pretty awesome deal.
Easy to look back on what you've done, and I know there are some things that you're planning moving forward. I'm not asking you to reveal state secrets, but do you have things coming up that you'd like to plug?
Buddy, I tell you what, I mean, unfortunately, fortunately, Dr. Campese not here because he can't reel me in. The beauty of this job right now is I feel like I simply have created a bucket list of things that I never got a chance to do as a student that I believe our students would love to do, and I'm throwing it out there. So the one that's kind of on the horizon, and we're going to touch on a little bit when we're out in L.A., is that 2028 L.A. Olympics. It's on the horizon. It's only 6 weeks. Yeah. And so for me, I mean, if I could, wish list type thing, I want to, summer of 2028, have our program based in L.A. for the entire summer. So my vision is, 1 or 2 houses rented, like entire houses rented for the summer. My vision is our students interning with the Dodgers, the Angels, going out to those teams that are there, coming back during the day. We kind of decompress a little bit. And then when we get towards the Olympics, our students working that Olympic Games in Atlanta. That would be great. Another one I've kicked around is a semester on the road where we leave in January.
That's a fun idea.
Yeah, and we have an RV. We have 2 15-passenger vans, and we basically just start at this, CFP, and we just do it all. Like we hit, not minor league baseball, but spring training baseball. We hit the Super Bowl. We hit Daytona 500. We do all those events. And, if we've got everybody that's in the caravan, as part of, some common classes, I can teach while we're on the road. We can even do it, swap out, where I'll take the first 5 weeks, and we pass the baton on. Campese flies out, jumps in the RV seat, and goes. Because that's the thing, like I said, the experiential part of it, that is the thing that, and if you were to interview, interviewing me and talking about is one thing. If you get a chance to interview our students and hear about the impact it has on them, because I go back to, even before I started in this program, Super Bowl 50, Campese invited me out. I was still an employee of the Browns to drive a van for that Super Bowl. And we had students who were in this program that were from inner city Cleveland, had never left Cleveland. And the first time we go out, and we went to Muir Woods, the national park.
It's huge.
These kids see a redwood tree. I mean, you would have thought, they were like, what? Get out of here. But it's just those opportunities, exposing our students to those things, even outside of football and sports or whatever. I mean, that's huge stuff. And if you were to ask the students, it's life-changing for them,
Well, if you're ever looking for help the second weekend in April, I could think of a small town in Augusta, Georgia.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Help, and I'd be happy to help.
Yeah, we're I can always use a caddy.
Excellent. This has been a great conversation, and so proud of what you guys are doing. I know you don't like to take a lot of credit for it, but the reality is, I'm not terribly far removed from that process of being a high school guy looking. It's 15 years ago, but I still think about the kinds of things that, the questions I wish I knew to ask, the experiences that I wish I knew were available, and if I were that age now and look at what you guys are putting forth, there's no other conversation. Yeah. You stop looking elsewhere and you put all your eggs in that basket.
Yeah, and for me, I don't take credit for it, because this goes back to, like I said, I spent a lot of time in the NFL. Probably one of the greatest owners I worked for was Al Lerner. And Al Lerner would always preach when he hired us on, and I was running the alumni department for a while under his son Randy. His big thing was we were stewards of our time here. When he was the owner, it wasn't about Al Lerner. It was about the Cleveland Browns, and he simply was steering the ship during his time as a steward of that. And I look at that. 20 years from now, I'm probably not going to be around. If I get 20 years, then it'd be amazing. But that's a reality. But I've got to be a steward of my time here. And I think, like I said, Dr. Campese kind of had the blueprint before I got here. we're following that blueprint, and I think we've built an incredible program, and we've provided incredible opportunities for our students. And I say it all the time, like, we're planting trees we're never going to climb, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because, when I look at where the program was when I was a student to where we are now, I can't even imagine where it's going to be 20, 30 years down the road from here. And so I'm okay with not taking any credit. I just want to go on the trips and be a kid again, and that's what a lot of these trips provide for me, is that opportunity to live through the eyes of our students and watch them experience the things that it changes them, it molds them, it turns them into what they're going to be in the future, which is awesome. And that's the whole reason we're here.
Incredibly cool, and I so admire and appreciate that perspective. Before we let you go, got a
Sure.
Super Bowl prediction?
I got to go all in on Cincinnati, and
Why
not because I'm from Ohio, but we were just talking about before I jumped on here. The beauty of where the Bengals sit right now is they're playing with house money. They weren't supposed to be there. They were supposed to be third in the North, right? Joe Burrow is he can't get it done. That they don't have an offensive line. All these things that they were. Meanwhile, all the pressure is on the Rams because the Rams went all in. They got every free agent they needed. They got all the pieces they needed to win, right?
And they're on their home field.
Yeah. So if they don't win, it's a complete failure. Where the Bengals, they can come out pretty loose. And the thing is, they've got a leader of their team who loves to run loose. I mean, we were there in New Orleans when he won.
Oh, yeah.
And think about it. We were there in New Orleans where he won in New Orleans. And so he's okay with playing on somebody else's turf, but he's okay with playing on – I think he's going to be lights out. I look forward to the game. I think it's going to be a better game than people are expecting. I think it's going to be competitive. But I ultimately like – if the Bengals can keep it close, they'll win the game. If it's a close game, they win. Obviously, if the Rams get rolling and they can't keep up with them, they'll take off. But I think we're in for a good game, and I do know this: Tom Brady will not be a winner this year. I mean, so we know that. But which I don't have a problem with Tom Brady, but I mean it'll be good. I think we're seeing kind of a changing of the guards. We're kind of seeing if Matt Stafford wins. Is anybody disappointed with Matt Stafford winning? He's a pretty good guy.
I don't have an issue with him.
I mean, I think I liken this to that 2016 World Series, right?
Sure.
You don't care. Well, I cared who won, but I mean,
Yeah,
I wasn't all that upset. But so it'll be the same thing. But I'll go Cincinnati.
You heard it here first. Tony
Yeah.
Dick thinks the Bengals are going to win. He's not telling you to place bets, though.
No, absolutely not.
I'll tell you what. There are few things in sports that are cooler right now than the new Joe Cool smoking a victory cigar. So let's see if Joe Burrow can get it done.
Yeah, he's how could you not root for that kid?
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Good deal.
Tony, thanks so much for
Hey,
joining
never
us.
a problem. Anytime.
Have a great trip.
Yeah, thank you.
Enjoy it, and we'll look forward to catching up soon.
Yeah, perfect.
All right,
All right.
Tony Dick
I'm going to
from
get back to
our-
my pickles.
Yeah, you do that.
All right.
Tony Dick from our sport management program here at BW. Super excited about what those kids have coming up. All right, Dean Cullison, our offensive line coach of our football team, on the way down. Here you go. What's going on?
What's up? How's it going?
It's good, man. How are you?
I'm doing better. I can't believe I got invited back. That's nice. So,
Well, you are welcome any and all Monday nights, folks. This is where the entertainment value typically ratchets up a little bit here on our shows. Why don't we start with what's going on football-wise, right? It's early February. In a lot of people's minds for college football, it's kind of the heart of the offseason. The D3 National Championship game was now 2 full months ago. You guys have a pretty good idea of what's coming in next year because recruiting's been in full force. National Signing Day was last week. Winter workouts are going on. There's a whole lot of stuff going on in college football that maybe people don't realize is going on. So why don't you give us kind of the latest on what's going on with Yellow Jacket football?
I tell you, the thing I was talking to Rob and Steve when I came in is the past 2 months have just felt like one long day, compared, with winter recruiting in December and you go right into January and, the nice part about working for Coach Hilvert is somebody with a sense of urgency.
I was just going to tell you what you just said. You sounded just like Coach Hilvert, by the way.
If I had the same haircut, if I looked like Brock Lesnar, it'd be on that.
It would be there.
But no, just working for someone with a sense of urgency like that, and who, every day you walk in the building, what are you doing to improve it? Leave it better than when you found it when you walked in. And the response has been great from recruits. He would say it better than me, but you couldn't ask a better group of guys to work with that do a great job of building relationships with kids and getting kids on campus and, showing them that's the thing we always tell our recruits when we get them on campus, the goal being leave here with something about BW you didn't know about before and enjoy it. I always tell them all the same thing. I'm not going to over-professionalize you. This is the only day you'll see me in dress pants. I usually wear sweatpants to work, which, saying that in front of our AD. But, no, it's been good. And it's like I was telling you before the show, our best recruiters are our kids. And, just every day they're willing to come eat lunch and talk about their experience. And, it's been a very fortunate situation this offseason on top of waking up at the crack of dawn and getting after it in the weight room and still being willing to help us. It's been awesome. So
college football at the FBS level has changed a lot and in so many different ways in the last 12 months. How have any of those changes that are now becoming pretty mainstream thoughts or topics of conversation among fans, how are any of those changes affecting Division III football? Name, image, and likeness.
Yeah.
Transfer portal, like those kinds of things.
The biggest one you just hit is the portal itself. And I saw a crazy statistic the other day, and I couldn't tell you the exact numbers, but just the overall amount of scholarship players just in Ohio alone that haven't found a place to call home scholarship-wise yet. And, for us it's kind of beneficial because you're getting a chance to talk to a kid that maybe at the beginning wasn't considering a Division III school, and then next thing you know, you're on the phone with him and he's interested in coming to talk with you. And it's been opening up a whole lot of doors and a whole new facet of kids where, as a recruiting coordinator, the biggest piece of advice I give our guys is have a deep pool, and that pool's only gotten deeper since the emergence of the portal and, just the amount of numbers that are in it. And then, the guys that I know at different levels that, heck, a couple schools I'm talking to, 50% of their funds are going towards the transfer portal and the other 50 are going towards freshmen. That opens up a whole other cachet of kids at the high school level that you're going to have access to. So it's been interesting. And then, for us, it's always putting yourself on the front lines and making sure guys know you're there is an option for them. So, but ever since that thing took off, it's been crazy just in terms of the amount of kids we've been talking to.
National Signing Day is obviously a little bit different at the Division III level. Mm-hmm. There might not be the same pomp and circumstance and fanfare around it, but you still get some guys that'll sign or have a little ceremony at their respective schools and verbally commit in that first week of February. I realize you're going to get guys that are saying, "Hey, I'm going to come play football for you," up to maybe a few weeks before camp starts. Yeah. But for the guys that have committed for this upcoming freshman class and have signed with you that you can officially talk about, who are we excited about that fans might be interested in watching?
Well, I tell you right now, we got two gentlemen from the great state of Texas who flew up and came up and visited with us, and one of whom, when he first committed, he hadn't even visited yet. And it was unique in the sense that I think he just fell in love with the dynamic of talking to some coaches and really liking what they had to say and being able to sell him on the experience itself. And then, from the essence of, on offense, our big thing this year was making sure we hit a lot of linemen just in terms of making sure we had a deep pool there and had a really good number of kids that have decided they want to hop on the train and, help us get better from that front. But I would say for us especially, every kid we get excited about because, at the end of the day, especially with how we view our recruiting, we don't want to bring in just anybody. We're going to bring in, someone that we think can compete right away. And that's why I think the uniqueness of what Coach Hilvert's put forth with us has really made us just hone in on certain kids and make sure we take the time to get to know them and evaluate them and vet them and talk to their coaches and make sure we know who we're getting involved with. So
I'm curious about the relationships that you feel like you've developed here locally with, some of the big powerhouse schools that seem to be turning out really good kids. St. Ed's had another great year. St. Ignatius has had good teams over the years. At the public school level, Medina's had an unbelievable stretch here the last couple of years with Drew Aller at quarterback. Mentor's had some really good kids. There's a lot of really good talent in Northeast Ohio that go on to play at the college level, and I'm curious what kind of roster makeup you think you're going to have this year from Northeast Ohio.
Northeast Ohio is a huge area for us. I know the fun part about being a coordinator is getting to divvy those areas, and myself and Coach Hilvert, we're kind of big on splitting this area together because we want to make sure we hit it. And then being from Columbus, when I first got here, Columbus was my area. And then selfishly, I wanted to kind of broaden my horizon a little bit just in terms of, the recruiting landscape. And Coach Robinson did a really good job filling in on that spot. And it's really helped us, kind of build that pipeline from Columbus up through that Northeast Ohio area, heading up over to Toledo some. And, we're very big on, home state guys, get guys to stay home. And out-of-state guys have seen that too, and then you start getting the interest from your Michigans and Pennsylvanias, West Virginias. Kentucky this year got a really good player coming out of Kentucky up to us, and then Florida's always been good. So, when you build a foundation in your home state first, other places will follow. So it's been really good.
Obviously, it was a pretty good season. I know it ended on a disappointing note, but it feels like the program continues to take really good steps these last couple years now. Take COVID out of it for a second.
Yeah.
The season pre-COVID and then this past fall, Baldwin-Wallace football has that feel like it's kind of back where it was when it was constantly in the conversation of being in the national playoffs.
Yeah.
And right now I know you're knocking on that door. From your perspective as a coaching staff, what's it going to take to kick that door down?
Overall, for us, first and foremost, is that standard of trust in the program and just trusting what's going on and believing in the things that we're doing, not just as a staff. As cliche as it's going to sound, the kids more than anything are the thing that make it go. And as long as they have that trust and belief in each other, and I think our lifting numbers have proven that with what we've had coming in the offseason, and you're only as strong as your kids are. And obviously leadership is from the top down, and Coach Hilbert being the figurehead that he is and being that stability and that factor, our guys feed off that and they follow that. And, the thing I've been most impressed with since I've been here is our leadership committee. Every year the number has gotten bigger, and guys want to be a part of that and continue to help build it. And, and we're close. And, like you said it best, the season didn't end the way that we wanted, but, we're competing right there at the end with one of the best teams in college football. I have nothing but good things to say about them. But for us as a program, I think the biggest thing we learned is you got to play 4 quarters. And Coach Hilbert would tell you that himself. Got to finish, play 4 quarters, go win the game. Don't try to not lose it. And then
Sure.
that's where you'll be at the end. So,
Looking forward to seeing how the identity of this team sort of takes shape over the offseason and into next fall. A couple of things away from the field before we let you go. First of all, we just had Tony Dick on, and he's got a chance here with this sports management program to take kids out toward the Super Bowl, and they've been to so many cool different places. Your role as a recruiter, I think, is unique because you probably get guys that show interest in that program with some regularity.
Yeah.
What are those conversations like, and how fulfilling is it for you to see a guy decide to come here and then get those kinds of opportunities both on the football team and away from the field where they can kind of blend the experience and really make it their own?
So kind of a slight brag, I actually have my bachelor's and my master's in sports management. And the number one thing I tell guys when they first say they're interested in that program, in my opinion, location means everything.
Sure.
And you are on the outskirts of a major city with professional sports teams in the 3 major pro leagues. That in and of itself is half the battle. And I know Coach Parnell, who he is an alum of Baldwin-Wallace. He is really tight with Professor Campisi, and the things he's told me about it, and the kids that have went and had conversations with our sports management professors, they all say the same thing when you ask them how those conversations went. Their eyes get really wide, and they're like, man, that was cooler than what I was expecting, And I think the nice part to see about a program like that is how hands-on it is.
Sure.
Taking that, program itself and being hands-on with the effort of taking kids to national championships and Super Bowls, because the world of sports, very hands-on.
Sure.
It's especially, I know the guys that go on that trip and the young men and women that do, they're going to have to get a lot of hands-on experience when it comes to doing a lot of those things, and it's going to benefit them down the road. So it's a very exciting program, and I think as that thing continues to build, it's going to keep taking off. So
looking forward to seeing that for sure. And we'll wrap with one final non-BW related question.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like this is a sweaty palms kind of week for you.
This is a big weekend.
With your Cincinnati Bengals playing for the Super Bowl. First of all, the AFC Championship game. Give me kind of the rundown of where you were and what the moment was like, hanging on McPherson's right leg, knowing that he was a high school kicker 4 years ago.
So I FaceTimed the whole game with a good friend of mine back home, and he got a reaction video after he hit it, and I'm pretty sure I cried.
I would have.
I've been a Bengals fan since birth, thanks, Dad, and this past decade has not been easy. I said I texted all these guys earlier, but I have to make a public apology. My buddies Jordan, Eddie, Greg, and Jacob, 2016 wild card game, Steelers and Bengals. A.J. McCarron hits A.J. Green left pylon for a touchdown to go up, and I challenged the entire room's manhood before the end of the game, and it came back and it bit me. And my buddy Jake was texting me and said, if Joe Shiesty pulls this out, we can't make fun of you anymore. So, but there's kind of an omen going on right now. I was just thinking about this. So Stanley, who was up here, told me a crazy thing. He's never, as a wrestler, has never enjoyed Thanksgiving. I remember when I was first coherent enough to understand that Christmas was awesome when you get gifts. For him to do that for Thanksgiving, and then Joe Burrow has this quote about, don't post your workouts on Instagram. What's done in the dark comes to the light. The fact that kid just now made that public, I'm such a fan of his now, and
sure.
I mean, there's a correlation in there somewhere. So, good things are ahead for the team in the stripes. I know that. So, Stanley, thank you for making that known.
I hope it's going to be a fun weekend. I won't ask you to give us a score prediction because I'm sure that's a little nerve-wracking, but we know who you're pulling for. So
big time.
Have fun, and good luck with the blood pressure. As a Browns fan, I don't know what these are like.
Oh, no, I heard had fun at the Senior Bowl last week, so that's good. That's my one shot I got to take. So.
Dean Cullison, our offensive line coach and lead recruiter at Baldwin-Wallace with our football program. Really appreciate your time.
Appreciate you having me.
And great to catch up.
Absolutely.
All right, enjoy
appreciate
the rest
you, brother.
of the night.
Thank you.
That was a great conversation, and looking forward to seeing what this football team does here as they continue their off-season workouts. All right, we wrap up our show tonight with just a quick look at what is to come for the Yellow Jacket Athletics this week. Heidelberg, as I mentioned a little bit earlier in the show, Heidelberg's going to host our Yellow Jacket wrestlers tomorrow night. That'll be at 7 o'clock out in Tiffin. Wednesday night, it's a basketball doubleheader with the Ohio Northern Polar Bears. The men are at home. The women are going to play out in Ada against the Polar Bears, who are very good. And my gosh, is that a difficult place to play. So keep your eye on that one. Friday, a track meet and a chance for the wrestlers to compete. Wrestling team will be down in Fairmont, West Virginia at West Liberty. The mid-February meet hosted at the Lou Higgins Center Fieldhouse for the indoor track and field team coming up this weekend on Friday, followed by Saturday's competition, the All-Ohio Indoor Championships. Those are in Westerville, Otterbein hosting beginning at 11 a.m. Basketball has Muskingum on Saturday. The women will play at 2 o'clock. Men's basketball team at 4 o'clock. Those are both on the road down in New Concord. The men's volleyball team will play this weekend in Rochester, New York against Rutgers Newark. They're out of New Jersey. The team will then follow that up with a second contest against St. John Fisher, who is the host of this weekend's tournament. And the women's tennis team getting underway with their season at Paramount Tennis Club. That's coming up on Saturday afternoon. On Sunday, we'll have the wrestlers over across town in University Heights as part of the John Carroll Open, followed by a couple of volleyball matches. The volleyball team is competing at Nazareth University on Sunday. They'll play Nazareth, and then State University New York Poly, SUNY Poly, at 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. on Sunday. And then Valentine's Day Monday, we'll be right back here Monday night to give you our latest Baldwin Wallace Athletics Roadshow. All right, that'll wrap things up. Big thank you to Stanley Blake, our All-American wrestler and now school record holder for wins, who joined us, as well as Tony Dick and Dean Cullison. I'm Brendan Gulick. Have a great rest of the night. Look forward to seeing you again real soon, and a big thank you to Mike's Bar and Grill for having us out here again this week. Have a good night, everybody.